We believe in low-code solutions to overcome business challenges. Our longtime OutSystems partnership speaks for that. With a global presence that brings knowledge and experience to your doorstep, we offer the best end-to-end solutions for your business needs. Are you ready to take your business to the next step? Reach out and let's make it happen.
Hello and welcome to Next Step 2022. My name is Mike Jones, the Head of Partners and Alliances at MTT Data UK. My role is to manage the relationships with our global ecosystem of partners so that together we can bring value to our clients. Today, with my colleagues Deborah Bale and Matt Kearney, we'd like to outline our point of view on the fast-growing ecosystems challenging the insurance industry. Ecosystems offer organizations in different sectors and geographies a chance to innovate and reach beyond traditional products and services that will ultimately improve customer experience. In an economy increasingly stimulated by ecosystems, it's not the strongest organizations that will survive, but the ones most responsive to change. So coming to you first, Deborah, what are we seeing are the main challenges insurers are facing and how are they addressing it?
Thanks, Mike. So today we're seeing low margins, fractured customers experience and colleague experience, plus real competition in a market that's ensuring that insurers need to consistently rethink how they actually improve their speed to market and reduce cost to serve. Every insurance company is looking for ways to accelerate their growth strategy, and technology is really the key to that. However, the majority are hampered by the legacy tech that's costly to maintain and ties up their talent simply keeping the lights on. So organizations really need that open, intelligent, scalable platform that leverages real-time data to deliver that personalized customer experience every time.
That's interesting, Deborah. Thanks. So as a follow-on question, what changes are driving the insurance market to address these challenges?
Really, in simple terms, it's intimately understanding and communicating with the customer. That's the number one priority. But to achieve that level of hyper-personalization, it's really only possible when there's enough data to drive the customer intimacy itself. But we know that that insurers have a wealth of data available to them. But when it's given context, it becomes really valuable information. That's the silver bullet that's really helping towards that personalized customer experience that our customers and consumers expect today. The appetite for data has never been higher, but accessing external sources has never actually been easier, even with all that legacy tech in place. We've successfully been connecting our clients' ecosystems by implementing robust and scalable orchestration layers that enable that connectivity with the right information at the right time from the right source, not just moving and exposing that data, but intelligently manipulating it before we actually present it. And the outcome of that is that it can enable a really seamless customer experience that's tailored to their needs with products that they actually want. But another point that's really incredibly high on the agenda is that colleague experience. in today's world, there shouldn't be any need to access multiple systems to get a customer view. It can be seamless, and colleague satisfaction is something that we all absolutely need to focus on. Right now, we're all facing that talent scarcity, and with hybrid working removing location as a previous barrier to employment, everyone has to feel really engaged, motivated in the role that they play. So we're seeing a series of small changes, building up all of those journeys, taking them outside of the legacy tech constraints, whether that be an integration of solutions that streamline and automate certain parts of the journey, or actually building components that give competitive advantage. This is what's given our clients massive strides forwards in their goals for that connected journey and being valued as insurers that provide the cover that their consumers actually need. But it's not just about being digital. That ship's already sailed. The expectation is everything is digital. It's actually about building a relationship with the customer, presenting them with information that ensures they provide as little data as possible, that drives that intimacy and their loyalty and makes the real mundane activity of insurance much easier for them, while also ensuring that we don't lose focus on that colleague experience as well. That needs to be as slick as the customers itself.
Thanks, Deborah. You've summarised that brilliantly. So as a follow-on question, what would you say are the other challenges that can reduce the cost of serving insurance cover?
Well, policy price increases they're really unable to keep up with the inflation, so general insurers must look to claims prevention to reduce their expenses, and an area that can really be targeted is fraud. Our recent thought leadership paper, the 2022 Insurance Vision, we touch upon that global fraud battle. It's absolutely necessary to have a complete view across the whole life cycle of the policy to have any chance of combating that fraud. Today, fraudulent claims in the industry have steadily grown, and now the single largest expense to property and casualty insurers, with reports actually suggesting it's taken about 10% of their revenue at this point in time. And in the UK alone, detected fraud is estimated to be more than 1 billion annually, and the undetected fraud in excess of 2. So today, we're actually faced with such economic turbulence. The cost of living crisis is putting many consumers into financial difficulty. And a recent YouGov research commissioned by Insurance Fraud Bureau reveals that actually 1 in 5 young adults would consider turning to fraud if they were struggling financially. So with all of that level of fraud apparent, something's really got to change and fast. And we believe that mitigating fraud in the industry, it's clear that insurers have to increase their investments in emerging tech, as well as introduce within their core systems platforms that really help identify and prevent that fraud. In order to do it, we have to have robust architecture. That's critical to tightly integrate the disparate solutions for the use of AI across all of those systems. But obviously, the shift for fraud has moved to online. So identifying the right solution to automate the warning signals that prevent the fraud taking place before it actually does is absolutely key. Top fraud challenges facing the industry will rely on information becoming available to them in the right context, ensuring that the fraud management is actually conducted across the whole of the policy lifecycle, not just at the point of policy binding or claims, and having appropriate authentication, validation, and behavioural analysis across the lifecycle in a connected ecosystem. That's what makes that challenge a whole lot easier to combat. But without the connectivity, independent behaviours in unconnected systems don't really lead easily to alerts on fraud. But however, combining those together, that creates a visual that will enable an insurer to act on that intelligence much, much sooner. An example of this is how we've been conducting our reviews in one of our clients across their open and closed files, really to determine the weaknesses in their claims lifecycle for that potential fraud. It's detecting some erroneous activities, continually assessing, and actually remediating those vulnerabilities when they're actually found. And this, quite astounding, has actually resulted in a reduction of over 45% of claims handling and technical expert review time. But more importantly, it's actually driving the necessary changes and validations that are required to actually prevent the fraud happening.
Okay, thanks, Deborah. So last question to you. Can you describe for the audience what would you say are the forces accelerating insurance transformation?
It really is a combination of buy and build. So building your competitive advantage using OutSystems to address the speed to market and integration with the buy. Emerging players within insurtech space, they're really bringing SaaS solutions that do certain parts of the insurance lifecycle in a really dynamic way that no monolithic platform has ever achieved. The market itself has been disrupted by these entrants they've developed the solutions that address the challenge, and many of them have actually faced those challenges working in the industry themselves. They're not intended to resolve multiple areas. They actually focus on that individual activity, and they do it really, really well. And I'm talking about areas such as pricing that can move away from the painful, manual, outdated processes to really free up those highly paid actuarial and underwriting colleagues to focus on what matters, and that's building those models at speed. But as well as that, underwriting dashboards, they can remove the manual analysis that an underwriter performs to collate all the information they need to assess the risk. And that usually comes from multiple systems and sources, along with providing those key alerts to draw their attention to key areas of concern that doesn't comply with the thresholds and tolerances that the policies are written by. But taking advantage of these new entrants are not constrained by the legacy architecture, allows insurers to get the best of breed without ripping out the core legacy platforms everyone's afraid of doing so, and that's possible with a robust integration layer. One thing that I would like to bear to mind is that we need to be aware that these startups can sometimes be less mature in delivering change in large-scale organizations. So patience and collaboration, a collaborative relationship is really, really key to ensure that they're successful in implementing their solutions, particularly into heavily governed IT landscapes. And all of these small changes in their own right really lead us to one outcome, and that is that connected ecosystems is really the accelerator in this phase of transformation that's needed.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Deborah. Really very, very insightful. So Matt, coming to you. So why are business ecosystems so important to solving these challenges?
Well, I think sort of as Deborah's already sort of started talking about, I mean, the reality is that sort of a combination of technology evolving and customer expectations alongside it means that this idea of a seamless customer experience in traditional industries, simply doesn't stand up to scrutiny. What you need to do to provide a seamless experience is simply more than a single organization can bring to bear. So what you're seeing is this interconnected set of services and apps and technologies being brought together by cross-industry players to create that single integrated experience. I mean, you only need to look at how the car industry has now sort of morphed to really become smart mobility as an ecosystem play, and organizations such as BMW are creating new partnerships and opportunities and innovation. And the example we see here on the screen around their new flow technology, which is literally using the e-ink developed for e-readers like your Amazon Kindle to allow you to change the color of your car at the push of a button. A testament to that would never have happened kind of previously, that type of innovation and collaboration between organizations. But it's not just there. I mean, it's across all industries, from agriculture to payment systems, where banks are much more worried about Stripe than they are other banks these days. So that sort of general breakdown is very much kind of part of what's happening. We just jump to the next slide. So what you kind of see, and as we sort of mentioned already, our 2022 insurance vision research has really demonstrated that this isn't just something for other industries. Actually, 4/5 of insurers are already either actively engaged or interested in becoming part of an ecosystem. So it's very much a leading issue right now. And the reality is that you can't do this alone as an organization. What we found is that there are really 4 principal ecosystem areas that insurers are becoming part of or looking to become part of. The largest of these really is around sort of health and healthy living, then smart mobility kind of closely following behind, and then really sort of home-based and business shield ecosystems, which are both smaller at present, but we're seeing sort of developing kind of quickly over time. And the bottom line is really that insurance companies that delay in their ecosystem development are almost certainly going to lose market share to more innovative competitors. You could just take a couple of examples of what Ping An's doing in China, where its online car purchasing system, Autohome, is already generating a third of all of the leads for its entire kind of P&C and financial service businesses. A similar thing's true with Discovery in South Africa, or Vitality in the UK, from a health and well-being perspective, and obviously Insure My Tesla, which has only been around for 4 years, simplifying that process and bringing sort of 16 million customers to bear for Liberty Insurance. So these things are having a really big impact.
Thanks, Matt. So we now know that ecosystems are important. We also know that it's not easy to make ecosystems work, as I'm sure some people out there will know. So what would be your advice on making them work for our attendees?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, as you said, it's important to recognise that sort of the consensus around research is that really only about 20% of ecosystems that are set up end up being sustainable in the long run. And an underlying ecosystem partner immaturity is a kind of a critical factor in terms of their failure. But the good news is that there are really sort of 3 things that we see insurers who are succeeding do consistently well. The first of these really is around being very clear from a strategic intent perspective. We've really identified that there are 5 key reasons to go into an ecosystem, whether that's about expanding, your market offering in terms of access, whether it's around strengthening the core business, whether it's indeed protecting from other ecosystems, or tapping into revenue from adjacent lines of business, or indeed kind of launching a new venture to kind of separate out from the core business. So the first thing I'd say is, if you don't clearly fit into one or more of those, then have a hard look at why you're doing it and perhaps realign. Secondly, really the organizational capabilities that need to be put in place. Partner management is incredibly important, and it's really important to say that doesn't mean to say rebadging supplier management, right? Supplier management is not partner management, and it's a very different mindset and set of skills. Secondly, really the softer things, really, I guess, around sort of flexibility and resourcefulness. The idea of being entrepreneurial in an organization is an idea that's kind of taken off, probably over the last sort of 5 or 10 years. And that's incredibly important in terms of the way people think and behave. Everything from, basic things such as adopting OKRs rather than KPIs, and really how you get that cross-functional team working, and the trust, particularly between kind of partners, which again is something that Deborah was referring to earlier. And then lastly, really around sort of digital literacy, particularly for senior leaders. It's incredibly important that they understand this stuff and how it fits together, because otherwise you can spend a lot of time, wasted time, trying to convince people, and therefore opportunities can be missed. And then I guess sort of lastly, and perhaps most importantly, the enabling technology. That scalable, flexible kind of API-based architecture, and that sort of the data management, analytics, incredibly important, because if you can't quickly, join, leave, bring others into ecosystems, then you're dead in the water. And the challenge is, as Deborah was touching on earlier, that for organisations that have been around for more than 10 years, which is most of them, in all honesty, it can be a real challenge because being weighed down by that legacy technology and technical debt. So, I mean, from our perspective, what we kind of would say is that that ability to be able to collaborate, in a seamless, integrated way, is all about being able to decouple from that legacy, complexity, and risk. And that's what paves the way to an open model between insurers and the ecosystem partners of their choice. It's incredibly important because it also sets in place the foundations to be able to capture and maintain that much greater volume and velocity of data that they're going to need to analyze and act on to really understand those customer needs, to develop the intimacy and the hyper-personalization Deborah spoke about earlier. And that's really why ourselves and the customers we've worked with have found OutSystems such a critical component in this, because it enables you to quickly extract and deliver value, as well as enabling existing teams to go on that journey, because it's very simple and easy to use. That one of the biggest kind of failures with sort of transformations of this type when you're moving into ecosystems is losing that deep customer and business knowledge people have, because they get sidelined over their ability to understand the technology, and that can be a real failing. And we found that over 100 projects now with clients all around the world, with everybody from Liberty Mutual and Resolution Life, and Tesco Underwriting, amongst others. And that's made a huge difference in terms of that's the composable services and automated operations and integrated user experiences you can get from working with OutSystems. And I guess really just sort of finally, in terms of how to win, our experience in terms of how to go about doing this is really to think holistically. So create that blueprint around what it is you're looking to achieve. You're not going to do everything at once, and the beauty of the composable elements is that you can pick and choose which bits need to be looked at first, but then really think about this as an ongoing product. So build that center of excellence around it, so you can get that excellence and understanding within the organization. And lastly, that agile multidisciplinary team and that ability to work across different geographies and time zones, hugely important as well. And that can obviously deliver a variety of benefits, some of which we just listed here from our perspective, but there'll be many, many more. So I think in summary, that's really what we would say, Mike, as our advice on this.
Well, thank you, Matt and Deborah, for your insight and help in navigating this complex topic. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it useful, and don't forget to visit our virtual booth to find out more information and also share your thoughts. Please also feel free to reach out to our excellent speakers. Thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of the event.